Waste collection fees for residents in Accra have been increased with immediate effect up to 100 cedis for first-class residential areas. Second-class areas are to pay 60 cedis, whilst third and fourth-class areas pay 20 cedis. Now, according to the Accra Metro Assembly, this is aimed at beefing up the performance of waste management contractors and to help improve the environmental sanitation standards on the ground. But the question tonight is, how is such an increase expected to improve sanitation on the back of an existing cholera epidemic which has already cost 65 lives? My name is Stephen Anti, and this is today's big story. Today's big story is brought to you by Nationwide PVC, suppliers and fabricators of high-grade UPVC windows and doors. Now, as Accra faces the threat of cholera epidemic, city authorities are cracking their heads for some solution to address the key issues of sanitation facing the capital, increasing the fees for waste collection, distribution of free waste bins, and the setting up of a sanitation task force to enforce effective waste collection are among the measures that have been announced so far. But how effective are these measures in addressing the sanitation problems in the city? Let's get talking on today's big story. On the phone lines now, I have Harold Eseku, who is a sanitation and water expert from the World Bank. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us. Well, we lost Harold Eseku if you've just joined us. This is today's big story, and we are going to discuss sanitation. For those of you who have just followed the news, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, with partnership from the Environmental Service Providers Association, has announced that effective immediately, residential areas are expected to pay 100 cedis towards the collection of solid waste, and then second-class residential areas are also supposed to pay 60 cedis, and then third and fourth-class areas to pay 20 cedis. But what exactly constitute first-class and second-class residential areas? How does the AMA come about deciding that your neighborhood is indeed first class and you're supposed to pay 100 cedis for your waste that is collected? We're expecting to get onto the phone line and talk to Harold Eseku, who is a sanitation and water expert from the World Bank. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us again.
Good evening.
Now, sanitation, how bad is the situation in Accra from where you stand?
We have quite a bit of a challenge with respect to sanitation. I mean, looking at it in two perspectives. If we are talking about environmental sanitation, we are talking about solid waste collection, and then we are also talking about disposal of liquid waste. That is what to do specifically with fecal matter from our septic tanks, etc. We know that the last few weeks we've had a cholera outbreak, and one of the things has been because of the refuse collection situation. Over the last week, we have seen that there has been some level of improvement, and we also, that is with the solid waste collection. But the key thing is that it should not, solid waste is generated on a daily basis.
That's
and
right.
You must have a system in place that ensures that the refuse is evacuated continuously and disposed of in an environmentally safe manner continuously.
And
because there's no break in the process of
and this is what
solid
is
waste.
not assured in Accra, would you say?
Come again?
This is what is not assured. I mean, you're talking about evacuating the waste continuously, and I'm saying this is something that is not assured if you live in the city of Accra.
Yes, to a large extent, we could say that is the case, but we've heard the city authorities talking about the kind of contracts they have in place with the Environmental Service Providers Association, ESPA as they are called. And we've also heard about ESPA complaining about non-payment or low payment. They've been saying in some instances that their fees have not been reviewed for a while, so there's a backlog in the payments to them, and that is why they cannot work. So from both sides, there's a challenge, which means that the refuse will not be evacuated as we expect it to be done.
So what measures really are required, and how effective can these measures be if we are to rid the city of Accra of filth and subsequently perhaps replicate the same approach or technique to the rest of the regions?
Any solid waste management system which is developed, you have to make sure that you have a mechanism where every household subscribes to the collection system. If you do not, if I am practicing something in my house which is not a good environmental sanitation practice, cholera, dysentery, diarrhea, they do not know boundaries of houses. They do not know political boundaries. They do not know anything. House flies can move from my house to your house, and then the problem, we are all in the same kind of problem. And one thing, as a public health engineer, one of the things we always tell people is that there's only one way of getting cholera. You only get cholera by eating human excreta. You only get cholera by eating human excreta. Either food contaminated with human excreta or drinking water contaminated with human excreta. One of the commonest ways is house flies moving up and down from places which are poorly managed, people defecating in open drains, people defecating on dump sites, people defecating into plastic bags and throwing it into refuse heaps. That is one of our challenges. We have to ensure that we have a system in place. There's a close link between, even in our country today, that's why I say solid waste. People think you are referring to human excreta, but it is not. That is actually referred to as liquid waste. But it has been mixed in. Some people have punched holes at the size of their septic tank. Raw feces is flowing through the drain. Kids are playing. The ball goes into the gutter. Somebody picks it. The next thing, they've bought ice cream. Whereas they've bought a pie or bread, and somebody's feces is going into their mouth.
Very nasty.
These things have to be dealt with comprehensively for this thing to go away.
Very nasty narrative there. I mean, to think that you only get cholera by eating or drinking human feces, and many people are dying. Over 65 people have been dead so far since the outbreak in March. Let's get onto the other telephone line and speak to Ama Ofori. Ama Ofori is from the Environmental Service Providers Association. Good evening, ma'am, and thanks for joining us.
Okay, the name is Ama Ofori Entry.
Ama Ofori Entry. All right, thanks for the correction. So I'm concerned that in time past, the Environmental Service Providers Association had concerns about inadequate or less payment. Maybe the payments do not come early, and you also have complained about incurring costs to dump the solid waste at faraway locations, which was increasing your cost of operations. Now, I'm told that you were in partnership or in some kind of discussion with the Accra Metro Assembly to decide to increase the fees for waste collection. Can you tell us what informed the decision to increase the fees?
Okay. What has informed the decision to increase the fees is because of the cost build-up in the operations of the service providers. But then I still need to do some clarification.
Right.
With the collection, the reason why the fees have to be reviewed is because fuel has been increased.
Right.
Most of my members definitely use have to buy spare parts, and all this comes with the current exchange rate, and it affects their businesses. Lately, what is happening is we have to collect the revenue ourselves. AMA no longer collects revenue for us. But when we are talking about ESPA is the bigger membership. And we have only the Accra chapter and the AMA.
Right. So Ama, so what you're telling us in effect is that it's not all your members across the region that are increasing their fees, their rates. It's only your Accra members, correct?
No, that is not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying what has happened has to do with the Accra chapter members.
Okay.
They fall under AMA. And we need the increment across board for all our members in the country.
Okay.
Even those in the northern region. Once they are in Ghana and they are providing such service, there is a reason for the increment.
So it means that, yeah, okay.
Cost of fuel and lubricants, we do routine equipment servicing. We replace our spare parts. We buy tires, we buy batteries. We do periodic, maintenance on our cars, and we even have direct labor.
So,
including industrial safety.
I beg your pardon. What I need to
overhead costs.
What I need to explore really. So you've stated. You've stated it clearly.
At the final disposal site has to be bear by the contractor.
What I need to understand is that if there is any formula which was taken into consideration before determining which areas are first class, which areas are second, third, or fourth, and you're telling us now that this is not only in Accra, it's across the country. So let's take, say, Tamale. If somebody lives in Tamale and somebody lives in Accra, how fair is it for you to say, for example, if somebody lives in Kapohene Estate, you could consider that as first class, and somebody lives in Airport Residential Area in Accra, you consider them first class, and they all pay 100 cedis a month for you to collect their trash?
Okay, let me clarify here again. We have different assemblies, and the fees are reviewed per assembly. That was why I said this review is going to affect only the Accra chapter members operating under the AMA jurisdiction.
Okay.
So we are expecting CMA to come up with their own
rates. Okay.
So we are expecting the fees reviewed in the 275 or 65 districts that we have in Ghana.
Okay, yes. according to the living standards of the people there.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. Now, so tell me, what would you do if you find out that these rates are actually prohibitory and that many people would prefer to dump rather than pay as high as 100? I mean, really? I mean, what would you do if you learn out that people are not paying and rather they are dumping in open drains, for example?
I think with the experience we've had as a nation now, would need the city authorities to enforce the sanitation bylaws. I think I want to commend AMA again. They come up with an innovation they call the
Sanitation Task Force.
Yes.
To enforce effective collection. I mean, these are just rhetorics. We've heard them before. We've heard AMA saying that they're starting a task force and collection will be effective. And still, people are dumping in open drains. AMA, for example, the Environmental Protection Agency has been seeking to enforce a High Court ruling since February this year, which ordered the AMA to stop dumping untreated liquid and sewage at the Polygon or beach, popularly called the Lavender Hill. But this is still ongoing, so it's not new. We still get the AMA promising one thing, and then they're doing another, really.
We have a long way to go as far as our sanitation is concerned.
Right.
And we also have, it's a shared responsibility.
Shared responsibility.
And we cannot put the total blame on AMA. What about citizenry?
Yeah.
You've been asked to subscribe to the accredited service provider in your area. As a citizen, have you also honored your part? And then, thirdly, who is supposed to be responsible for your own
waste that you generate from your own home?
So it boils down to education.
Right.
So with the sanitation, it is a shared responsibility, and we cannot put all the blame on government if we as citizens are not also prepared to
take some
play
responsibility.
Our role. We are also supposed to subscribe to their services, and we are also supposed to pay.
Right.
If you are not doing this, that is when we also need AMA to come in.
Right.
But then with the third class, I think you have a point there. And this is where I'll use this medium to plead with the local government for them to intervene by subsidizing for those in the third-class areas who might not be able to afford the rates. But then, without those rates too, the service provider will not be
able to function. Ama Ofori-Antwi, we're very grateful for your time speaking to us. Ama Ofori-Antwi is with the Environmental Service Providers Association. So, Harold, you're still there. I mean, you heard in my interaction with Ama Ofori-Antwi, I was concerned about what will happen to those who might be unable to pay the new rates, and then they will resort to dumping in open drains as well. I mean, can you tell me if there is any partnership with the World Bank, for example, in ensuring that the measures put in place by the AMA to ensure sanitation are up to scratch?
Oh, really? We cannot say that the World Bank has, strictly speaking, no role in ensuring that the policy in place by the AMA is up to scratch. If there's a project where the World Bank is funding something, or a particular project, we make sure that it's up to the right environmental standards, and then all of that. And as much as possible, promote good practice in the country. So like the lady Amma said, if a certain measure is going to be put in place and some people cannot afford, and you are requiring the assemblies to subsidize the services of some people who are vulnerable, that is an excellent idea. But the World Bank cannot in any way insist that a district assembly should subsidize services for a vulnerable person. Ultimately, what is being done, if it's the World Bank is going to support in a project, you ensure that you are doing it in accordance with the right environmental standards, and we go according to what the EPA says. If these are the standards in place, we ensure that if it's a project funded with bank funds, we go according to the national standards and the national guidelines that have been put in place. That is the best that we can do. You cannot come and impose anything on anybody.
That's right. Now, I mentioned earlier in my chat with Ama Ofori-Antwi about the fact that the Environmental Protection Agency has been seeking an enforcement of an order on the AMA to stop dumping liquid waste into the sea at the Kolegono Beach, that's popularly called the Lavender Hill. This has been long ongoing. Now, let me ask you this question, not from the angle of an expert who works at the World Bank per se. I'm not soliciting World Bank views, but as a sanitation engineer, you told me, are there effective alternatives that a country like Ghana and our city, Millennium City like Accra, could use in disposing of liquid waste effectively and scientifically and healthy? Well, what are we doing to ourselves? Dumping liquid waste into the sea?
Yeah, there are a number of technologies which can be adopted. There's actually even a technology, somebody is doing something, was trying something last year close to Lavender Hill, which has some kind of polymer which is used to do liquid solid separation and for treatment of the waste. One of the things which we must understand clearly, that waste is something which is produced continuously, and it has to be dealt with in a continuous manner.
That's right.
You cannot say that, funds have been released today and funds are not going to be released for one purpose or the other. You are going to have a disaster on your hands immediately. So we must ensure that we put in place the right management measures and provide the right financial framework to ensure that any kind of system that is put in place works and functions as it is designed to function. If you have a car and you do not maintain it, even if it's a brand new car, after a while you have a problem with it.
That's right.
In the same way, if we have a sanitation system, we have a liquid waste treatment plant which is constructed, and somebody sits somewhere and assumes that, oh, this is just human excreta, why should we spend money on it? It will take care of itself. It cannot take care of itself. There's a saying that the level at which we treat our waste shows the level of development of a country.
That's right.
So that is something which, for me as a sanitary engineer, it's really pathetic if you attend a conference, an international conference, and they are talking about bad practice when it comes to liquid waste management, and you see pictures of Lavender Hill in an international forum. It is really pathetic.
Very sad.
I think it is time we do something about it, have a solution. We know the solutions. We have drawings, we have plans which have been shelved for various reasons. We have a number of treatment plants which are at various stages of completion. I think it is time we took the bull by the horn, make sure that we complete these plants, make sure that the plants are designed to deal with the kind of waste that will be coming to the plants, and most importantly, the management measures have to be put in place. The financial measures have to be put in place. And the right education should be provided for the people who will be managing the facility. Firstly, they should be properly qualified, and they should be given the free hand and the resources to manage whatever system is put in place effectively. If you do not do that, a system will be put in place. We can spend $50 billion, construct a new plant. If we do not manage it well, in 3-4 months, 6 months, maximum 1 year, there will be a failure at the place. And waste, if you do not manage the thing well, you will have a failure.
Right.
There's nothing else you can do about it, because the quality of material that is going, if you do not handle anything properly, you are definitely going to have a disaster in a very short while.
Right, Harold Eseko, we are grateful for your time on today's big story. Harold is a sanitation expert, sanitation and water expert, sanitary engineer from the World Bank. Let's now get on to the other telephone line and speak to the Director of Public Health at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Dr. Simpson Boateng. Good evening, sir, and thanks for your time. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us on today's big story.
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Now, I need to find out from you, what's the status of dumping untreated liquid waste into the sea at Lavender Hill? Can you give us the status of that?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Please, I'm in the car, so I can't hear.
When you decide to dump liquid waste into the sea, can you tell us about that? Right. I think we lost the AMA Director of Public Health, Dr. Simpson Boateng, who happens not to be hearing us very clearly. We wanted to put key questions to him, what the status of dumping liquid waste into the sea at Lavender Hill is. This is a very critical problem which has faced Accra, the city of Accra, for several years. And I recall that recently there was a World Bank funded arrangement to dredge the Korle Lagoon from that end to free the water, and what the AMA calls an ecological restoration of the Lavender Hill. That is yet to happen, and we're still confronted on our hand with severe cholera outbreaks. So far, 65 people have died since the outbreak in March, and we're still grappling with it. So this is today's big story. We'll take a break, and we'll still try and raise Dr. Simpson Boateng on the line, and then we'll have a brief discussion with him before we go for the interactive segment. Stay with us. Welcome back to today's big story. Unfortunately, we're still unable to raise the Public Health Directorate of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly to answer key questions to us. And as you may know already, the Environmental Protection Agency secured an order at the High Court as far back as in February of this year to stop the AMA from going ahead to dump liquid waste into the sea at the beach at Korle Lagoon, where it's popularly called Lavender Hill. These are key questions that we wanted to put to the AMA to find out what alternatives they had. And we have also been unable to get to the Sanitation Waste Company, which is a private subsidiary of Zoomlion Group, which operates a liquid waste treatment plant. They fall under the umbrella of the Environmental Service Providers Association, but we were unable to get their official response of the alternative that exists for solid liquid waste disposal and treatment in Accra. So these are key issues that we have been addressing on today's big story, where we mainly tackled sanitation in the city on the back of the ongoing cholera outbreak, which has already claimed over 65 lives. I'm afraid that we have been unable also to raise Alfred Vanderpoy, the Accra mayor, and his public relations officer, Numo Blafo, who are all not answering our calls. Unfortunately, there's very little we can do if the officials that are supposed to provide us answers to ensure you and I are healthy are unable to speak to us. So we'll draw the curtains down on today's big story, and we'll be back with an interactive segment. Stay with us.